Boom! I'm sorry about that. Complete malfunction. Gremlins. Gotta be gremlins. Anyway, never mind. We're here at last. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. Looks like the summer might have listened to me last week and it's started to buck up a touch. So I've got a bit of sunshine and it's getting a little bit warmer, so I'm good for that. I don't know whether you lot are up for that, but I'm pretty sure that you are. Evening, Jeff, John, Cos, Paul, John, Land, and Landraver. Well, go on, lad. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, what a week again. What's going on? Vlad's still impaling all over Ukraine. Poland appears to emerge now with what's the other side of Ukraine. So, as I said before, everything that's going on in Ukraine is just putting it back to its original borders. Meanwhile, the world becomes militarized. Nancy tottles off to Taiwan, upsets the Chinese, who are now blockading Taiwan, which is rather a problem because previous China had stopped exporting sand to Taiwan, which Taiwan needs in abundance. So, of course, it did have another option, Australia. But now Australia can't get in with the sand because China has now blockaded it. Well done, Nancy. Why is that a problem? Well, of course, what do you need for semiconductors? Well, you need a shitload of sand. Oh. So you can see, Nancy the Pelosi has just gone up there and shot it for everybody because we're going to have problems again with semiconductors. Not only that, China is now can hold the world to ransom on whether you're allowed to have any more semiconductors and such like. So, interesting week there. You've got Kosovo's kicking off. Kosovo's not happy, which of course Kosovo being a NATO pivot point for all things PSYOPs, black ops, smuggling, laundering, trafficking, you name it, all went on from Kosovo. So they're kicking off, they're causing aggravation, there might be more trouble in the Balkans. And good old Israel has bombed the living daylights out to Palestine, with almost 50 sorties now dropping missiles everywhere all over the Palestinians. So it's getting bigger, this game to war. It's certainly expanding. I would suggest you keep your eyes on Iraq, as now that the Zionists control Iraq, of course, they can start to put pressure onto Iran from behind Iraq's borders. So it's all moving forward, as they say, and they're still militarising. There's been another shift in some big cheese dick commander in what they call in sometimes the UK Army. What the hell is that? Never heard of it. Never heard of it before in my life. Just looking through the old parachute regiment, it's all changed from 5th Airborne, and one para, which has always been the premier of the 3 regiments, is now under direct control of UK Special Forces. Who the hell's that? Who are UK Special Forces? Because they're nothing to do with British, and they're nothing to do with English or Scottish. UK Special Forces, commanding one para. I'm sure McDade is going to be not very happy about that. Old Northern Ireland lad. The once hero of the old bumper. Anyway, never mind that. So the war system's shifting up. It's all going on. Hello, Snick. Hello, Debbie. How doody. So interesting looking into, just furthering what we've been looking at, we've got the Phoenix, haven't we now? So we've got 2 parts to this Phoenix. We've got the astrological aspect to it, which is the important one in relation to you. And that comes to fruition in April next year. So you've got whatever's coming before you now as an opportunity to cleanse your reaction to it, because you've cleansed your processing of the data you're receiving, and you can now look and see what's garbage and what isn't. And you're not going to follow the garbage. You're not following the timeline of the sheep that are on the cleansing. You're on your own timeline. Are you not? And you are computing all the data that you're receiving from all your senses inside your little body, upgrading it so you can then emanate that in your manifestation of the reality that you tread in. So I hope that's come through in these Wise Asylum little interviews we've been having over these last maybe 8 months, 10 months. I don't know how long we've been shindigging on the groovy stuff. Although lots of people might not see it as groovy stuff, they'll want to see low. I don't blame you. Remedies are always a good idea. And we've discussed that many times and in depth. I think some people get a bit fed up because I don't just do a video on law. It's shrung between all my other ones. Well, sorry, it's just how it goes. It's how it comes. And that's not much I can say about it apart from keep watching or not. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to go. Now I'm going to, because of that cock-up we've just had, there's a damn good chance I'm going to have to just have a little mess around window capture. So have a look. So I now want to pull through this. And I want to see it. If I just alter this is the main thing we're looking at. If I transition that over to you, boom, ta-da! So we've now got the Eye of Ra. Okay, not the Eye of Horus, because the Eye of Horus is the other eye at the other side. Because remember, we have 2 eyes, do we not? We have 2. So that is the Eye of Ra, and you'll notice that the snake there, or Nephis, is closest to the nose. Therefore, Isis, or the vulture used neck bit but came Isis, is towards your ear. Yeah, it's towards your ear. So that's important in the symbolism in this image. And so, you know, so with this, everybody's got their idea what it means. Pineal gland, all these millions and millions and millions and millions of interpretations of what this is all about. So this might just interest you. Somewhat rotten, because it got me going and I got excited, and so I've come across this data, I've looked at it, I've made notes, and I'm going to try and interpret it Shoney's way. Okay, so we'll have a bash and see if I either go up my own ass, which is quite possible, or you get excited and let's have your thoughts on it as we go. Because I think it just seems to be less and less now. I seem to be preparing for these live streams just on the Sunday. And maybe bits and bats during the week. But in the main, the last few have just been on a Sunday. So it may be that that's where it's going. If that's the case, then it'd be better if you guys got stuck in with questions and then we can investigate them or whatever. So this is absolutely superb, this. So let's have a look. Hello, Mats. Hello, Paul. And Paul Sefton says, I thought the Supreme Love video you did was very interesting. A lot of info in that. Indeed. And I think if you watch the live stream after that, so I did that on the Saturday and the Sunday live stream, I did expand it and maybe clarify a little bit there. But when you look at the actual documents, the covenants themselves, they're not huge. They're not big data to take on. There's only parts of it that you need. So that if you're, as I've said, if you're presenting your standing, which we all know that they do everything they can to not let you and to acquire joinder from you, then straight away you can bring that in and just say, look, well, you know, these are your rules, mate. Your gang's tied into these rules. I'm not. And your rules are clear. You have to uphold my right to be man and not person. And if I so choose to tell you and explain to you that I have recognised I am beneficiary for the trust, I also have that right. You're under them rules. Yeah, ICEPR 1, UD, Universal Declaration on Human Rights, the main. You don't, and what you've got to make clear in this, and again I'll reiterate just so that you know, they're using the 1998 Human Rights Act because that incorporates the European human rights nonsense, which is why we've had all this trouble. So that is the act you don't want. It's not included. You make it clear you're not being judged on that act. You're bringing forth these more important covenants that they've got going on. So it is a very interesting video. The data in it is excellent. And as I said before, I've always said to you the remedy in relation to being the beneficiary would be that you've got a case to show that equity hasn't been appropriated correctly. There you've got a chancery opportunity. But as you all know, it's exceptionally difficult to put one together in chancery because it has to be absolutely pristine. Now, still knowing that, I still had to offer it as remedy because it was remedy. It was the remedy, you know. So this takes the heat off that because you can push this right from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? So definitely it's exceptionally important, and I recommend that everybody comes to grips with those covenants because they are extremely important, and I'm pretty sure once more and more people grasp how they work and how you can incorporate it into your work and your efforts, I'm expecting you all to be using it because it is above and beyond a lot of the garbage that they're pushing out as legislation. So that is interesting. Now, so if we're on this image, and I'll seem to have lost my little video. Why is that? What's going on here? Oh, here we go, because I've made it. Is it? You seem to have lost me, ugly mush. Oh dear. Oh, I don't even know what the hell's going on. I think we've got gremlins going down somewhere. LOA. Right, so there you go. The Eye of Ra, specifically because it represents the right eye. If your eye, it's the right eye. Okay? No, wait a minute. Yeah, it's the right eye, which is important because there's a difference between the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, which is what we're going to explore. And hopefully it will support and expand what I've been trying to say all these times about what we receive, we are processing with our senses, and the thinking is a process to pull it all together so we can get our understanding on it. Now, of course, depending on our understanding on it is going to depend on what frequency we are, which we're then going to express, and which is what's manifesting before us. Yeah. So this is the Egyptian. You see, the Kabbalistic tree, in my opinion, is the way the priesthood managed to hide what we could have all had through understanding the Egyptian language. That they've nicked the actual context of it, put it into this tree life that they control, they inverted here and everywhere, which is why we're in such a mess. Why, as humanity, we've fallen so far below par. So now I need to just bring up, let's hope this continues to work as it is. So we need now another image, which we're going to bring up. It's very badly drawn. images, but you can see there you've got blue and you've got red, synonymous with Egypt, upper and lower. Okay? Now there's many translations of what this means. Okay? I don't need to go through them. You've probably all seen most of them. But this one is rather important. So if you transfer that, turn yourself around, the blue is your left eye, the red is your right eye. Okay? Because it's inverse, as it were, because we're looking at it. So you don't get confused. Now, so the red eye of Ra, this is your consciousness coming in from where your soul is sourced. So it's outside, as Jason would say, the simulacrum. Okay? So the essence of who you are comes via Ra, who is Saturn. Okay? So all this starts to make you understand. You can see the levels that people are at when they're pushing all this Saturnian stuff, etc., etc. Because it's dependent on the frequency as they're processing the data, which again is based on what you've seen, what you've read, what you've believed, what you've been taught, what you've been programmed. So the actual essence coming from outside the simulacrum comes via the eye of Ra, okay, or Saturn, and it's if you're putting it on to the tree of life, then it's severity, because Saturn represents severity, doesn't it? Yeah, if you get my meaning. Now the blue is the eye of Horus, so this is who you are. This is, so in comes the essence. It's inside of you, and then you're shifting over then into our solar system. What is closest in our system, right? So you've got Jupiter, okay? So Jupiter is the ruler of this solar system in the heavenly aspect, as opposed to, so nighttime, okay? So the nighttime we get to see the heavens, we can see the luminaries, we can see everything that's there. In the daytime we're all under set, our sun, because that's so bright, so close, and is the electromagnetic generator to this solar system. It blanks out the heavens. We can't see it at all. It envelops our everything in the daytime. So that's the sun set, okay? But in the heavenly spheres, if we're looking at the left eye, we're looking at Jupiter as the biggest body that has a lot of influence in our life. And he represents mercy. So this, again, that's parallel to the tree of life. Now, I'm not going to go blagging on with you with the tree of life for the simple reason not everybody is interested in it, because it's very complex, because they've inverted everything and screwed it all up. So only if you're going through the actual initiate degrees will you get to see the reality, because they control it completely. All right, so that's what we're getting. You've got the source energy coming in via Saturn, the eye of Ra, comes into this solar system. We're in this avatar that's based around the planets in this solar system, are they not? Our chakras, etc. Okay, so it's showing you the source, or God, coming into this place, and then we have a creation of this avatar, this realm. We're in it. Okay, we're in it. We're in this biological system that is just a representation of what's in the heavens. All right, so that's where you get the as above, so below, all this malarkey. Yeah, it makes sense when you're looking at it like that. Now, so the alive and awakened consciousness that keeps you going, the life force, is the eye of Ra. Now, because it's restrictive, because it represents severity, it's the judge on what the capacities are being created by the eye of Horus, through the eye of Horus. Okay, so it's a limitation. That's why everybody thinks it's bad and nasty, because you're seeing all father time, grandfather saying, "Hey, shut up, you dick. You're an idiot. Sort your shit out." You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're looking at. That's why everybody that's ridiculously insane hates Saturn. They don't like it because it's restrictive. You know, they can't do what they want. They need playground. So that's that kind of idea. And of course, in that body of armour that Saturn would use in order to restrict Horus if he needs restricting, which of course today you just look out there and we do. We've just gone through these wars coming up. There's a lot of restriction needs. But of course the greatest weapon Saturn has in this solar system is Mars, because Mars is war, is he not? Yeah? So Saturn is using Mars as the restrictive, which is why it's war, 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 war. Yeah? So you could say there's your Republicans are based on that pillar, that eye, which is why they're always prepped for war. Their answer to everything is war. War on drugs, war on terror, war on normality, war on everything. Everything's a war on. Whereas your left eye is it's mercy, so you're getting your socialist ideas then, aren't you? You know what I'm saying? So it tries to mitigate the raw energy that's coming in through the eye of Ra. Alright? Now I'm just going to break off a bit because as I said before, I've had the Ankh given to me many moons ago and I've always wanted to know what it means. I sort of come to the idea that it means eternal life, I understand that, but it means that that's running through you. So that you've instead of being in duality, which is what we can see with these two eyes, as they are, everything's being seen in duality. The Ankh is when you're looking through one eye. Now, I don't know whether that's correct, but that's how I've sort of understood it, that the Ankh is showing that the one eye is working and it's straight coming through from Ra itself, or from Source, okay? So that's where you get your divine kind of stuff from history, that's what they're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Divine attitude, as opposed to, these people are the most beautiful people in the world. It's nothing to do with that. It's the frequency that they're expressing based on the computation and processing that's gone on inside them, which then emanates out, because we are receivers of Ra's energy, and then transmit it as we understand it through our avatar, and that's what manifests before us. And of look what's manifesting before everybody these days, it's war, 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 war. So obviously we're way off track, and Mars is being used through the eye of Ra in order to restrict and to show the severity of our being off the mark kind of thing. So the Ankh for me represents an insight without the duality. It's okay. So the eyes then can be seen as representing a state of consciousness, pure consciousness coming down through Ra, the consciousness as it comes into this solar system through our avatars, and then we are expressing it on an individual level. So it's a consciousness. Whatever level you are, it's a particular state of consciousness, a frequency. So then you can look at all the luminaries in the heavens, what we call stars, are actually, they represent a particular frequency of consciousness. So then when you're looking at what we've looked at with Claudio, then you're seeing that each of these luminaries represents something specific. Absolutely something specific. So this is why the allegory is all over all the biblical stuff and everything that you can study that's, not been tainted by the priesthood in the last 1,000 years. So as at night time, the closest body we've got to us is the moon. It's receptive. And that's the mechanic in which Ra sort of creates our being, how we are, as a Horus, as it were. And Thoth does that. Thoth's the man, he's the scribe, he writes, yeah. And so the moon is used as an energy in order Thoth can create. So if you're looking at how does this work, then it's Thoth using moon energy that's giving the mechanic in order that you, as an expression, become who you are. And that's sort of carried out in the night. Okay? So in the day, you're out there doing your thing. In the night time, what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're behaving is then being programmed into your avatar as to who you're going to be tomorrow. Does that make sense? Which is why the old transcendental maxim is get up every morning and drop dead. shed yesterday, shed it, as it were. So they all make sense when you start to look at it like this, and it's not out there and beyond your comprehension. Now then, where are we? Now then, this gets interesting. So we're looking at blood here and the liver specifically. But also the heart, because the heart and the liver are connected as an organ, because the heart pumps the blood and the liver is the cleanse for the blood. And your blood carries the image of the Horus eye creation that you are. And that pumps it around every single organ so that everything within your body is synchronized to whatever the frequency coding is in your blood. Okay? So it's where you get down to the smallest minuscule droplet of your blood is a complete holographic image of your entire body. Right? So your blood is you. It is who you are. As an image, the essence of you, the avatar, but more importantly the consciousness as you've processed it, coming through from Ra into your Horus eye, and then you're expressing it. Does that make sense? If I've gone up my ass. Bloody hell. So, that being the case, so that's the heart. The heart has one job, it just keeps pumping that coding all around your body so that every part of your body is in sync with that coding. You can be nothing other than what you are, and your blood will make sure of that. Now, judgment, the liver. So the liver is acting in the capacity of judge because it's cleaning the blood. Right? So if you're off track and getting full of shit, it's not cleaning it right well, is it? You're staying there. You're not going to move. You get me? So your attitude, the way you think, the way you act, everything is encoded in your blood. The only way to do that is to change that coding, because then your liver will cleanse your blood and change the frequency. You see what it's saying there? It's interesting stuff. Yeah? So your consciousness is written in your blood. And your consciousness is based entirely on your using your senses, on processing the data coming down through Ra into this solar system and your avatar through your hearing, your sight, your smell, your taste and your touch. Right? So now this is where it gets interesting. Focus to the red eye. Okay, so there you can see it's broke up. You've got hearing because that side of the eye is closest to the ear. So this is how Egyptian hieroglyphs operate. This is the message they're giving you. Your eye in the centre is sight. The edge of your eye closest to your nose, smell. Now when you come down under the eye, that squiggle is your tongue, and that's taste. That's what it represents. Now the Egyptians use a feather to represent touch. Okay, so to the right of taste, you've got that feather shape, which represents touch. So there you've got what you know as your senses, but there's more. There's more than that, because your eyebrow, which goes above these eyes, which I haven't shown very well, right, I have done now. So the eyebrows are closest to the brain and represent thought, thinking, okay? But it's only 1/8. So then if we move over to the blue, you can see how it's broken up into fractions, okay? Can you see that? It's broken up into fractions, and you can see that. Now, the thought process, or thinking, because it is only a process, is only 1/8 of a percentage of how you're computing. So that sense is an 8% of you, how you compute. Your smell is half. So smell is the most important, by far. Which is why dogs are up at... You look at the animal world, that's all they operate by, smell. Smell first. Well, first they can register it on the feel. You can see that when you approach an animal that's with somebody. But the most important means of us computing and processing data comes through smell. A quarter is through sight. Hearing is 1/16. Touch is only 1/64. And the tongue is 1/32. Is this making sense to you? So what that's showing you is the left eye is your body, it's your senses, it's all your senses, and it's showing the eye of Horus because it's those senses processed that are determining your frequency, what you emanate, what you're manifesting in your world. Yeah? Does that make sense? Or have I gone right up my ass and right over your heads? I don't know. So the liver then, in essence, is judging your conscious activity on the degree to which it's cleansing your blood, changing the code. So you get too far down on negative coding, medication, all the shit that you're throwing inside of yourself, how can your liver possibly function? It's impossible. It cannot clean your blood. Your code's changing. Yeah? Your code is changing. So the liver's the agent of severity, if we go Kabbalah, and the heart is an agent of mercy. So the heart's constantly giving you the opportunity to see that if you change your frequency, change how you're processing data, you're going to change the coding in the blood. You're not actually going to keep pumping it round. You can do nothing but change. Zoom out a little. Okay, let's have a look, chaps. So, I don't know. I don't think I can zoom on this, you know. It doesn't seem to want to zoom. You said this to me last week, but it doesn't do the zooming, I'm afraid. Let me try and transition that for you. Is that a bit better? I know they're terrible drawings, but as I said, this has been put together today, but it's... I mean, when I caught this a couple of days ago, recognised its value, and then came back to it today, and I thought, right, well, it's brilliant. It's so in sync with the Phoenix that we're talking about. So Horus is in the simulacrum, Ra is outside, as it were, or its essence is. Boomer. Alright, sorry about that, chaps. Now, so in essence what it's saying to us is, and the reason why we're in such a mess is that we're all existing today basically with a damaged left eye. It's not lost to oblivion, but it's damaged. And so it's seeing only the material plane as its reality, and thus can only take its instruction from the material realm. Because if the left eye's damaged, the right eye can't damage, it's perfect. But the way that the human beings are processing the data, because they're taking their input from the material, and they're not even now using their own senses, it leads to obedience of that material manifestation. You're not listening to your intuition, and you're not moving on instinct. You're moving on the instinct afforded to your avatar based in fear. So it's moving more to war. Yeah? You get me? Does that make sense? So you could say then, archaeology, and the reason why they've controlled it for so long, because it's been important to them putting together this machine that's mimicking what is a natural thing so they can capitalise on it. They're making money, gaining power, creating the idea for the next realm if they can get away with it. So they're capitalising on what's a natural thing, if you will. All the money's being pulled back to themselves, as it were. So archaeology is a physical manifestation of our seeking out this kind of knowledge in the physical realm, because we've lost touch with the natural way that comes through, which comes through from Ra, through Saturn. Okay? So we've lost that ability to instinctively process the data raw, and now archaeology has we're that desperate, archaeology has become our only means in this physical manifestation of learning or breaking the spell, as it were. But of course, the more you raise yourself outside the physical and the material world, the more back in tune you come in with Ra, you can gain this knowledge just through intuitive insights, and then your instinct is operational, but not in the Horus realm, or not taking it from Jupiter, as it were. It's taking it direct from Ra. Does that make sense? So that's basically why archaeology is so important to us today, and there does seem to be quite a lot of new finds coming out. But more importantly, we're all moving a bit further forward into trying to understand what it is our ancestors were trying to teach us through this mass of hieroglyphic knowledge. And of course, it's not what we've had shoved down our throats from all these Johnny-come-latelys. They had to keep this under control so that we remain fixed to the material world, and then that gives them all the power to run your world. So your right eye is expressed in your blood, and then is processed and then represents who you are in relation to this material realm. And so your blood is who you are as consciousness in its entirety. So which is why you don't want to be having blood transfusions. You know, it's the reason why you don't want to be eating raw blood and such, because you're transferring the consciousness of whatever it is you're eating. Do you know what I'm saying? Which is why you cook it, cancelling it out that. Unless you want to do that, that's fine. You know, if you want to go to war, you might want to eat a bear or a tiger. You'd have its blood. You know, that's how it works. And the left eye projects the state into manifestation. So it. Well, that we'll move to that in a bit, because that brings us into your chakras. But basically, from that information, what it's telling you is you cannot escape who you are, because who you are is where you are. Yeah, and no amount of projecting onto others the battle that you need to be doing for yourself is going to change who you are. It's not going to do it. The only thing that's going to do that is when you put all your attention into this. More importantly now, because if you took on Claudio's efforts, we're into the Phoenix, the astrological Phoenix, and you've got between now and April. And then your art's going to be judged. It's going to be weighed for the next. Then you're into Jason. Then we're into Jason. And the 240, 246, 252. Phoenix, physical. Yeah, so the Ra's severity, once it's been dealt with in us, the raw side of it sorted out, balanced, weighed, etc., then it opens up for the physical. Phoenix, malarkey. You get that. So I hope you're staying with me. So let's have a look. Now, so the right eye is all about raw life energy coming from outside the simulacrum, who you actually are. Yeah. And it comes via Saturn. The Egyptians called it Ra. Yeah. So of course, something's happened that shifted Saturn being the biggest body to Earth. It's now Jupiter, his sun. So did that come in? Was it birthed? Or as some say, the Earth has shifted out of its original? I don't know. But you can see that's where it's sort of, you know, once upon a time it was Saturn, then it became Jupiter, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So as we lost direct connection to Saturn, He birthed the son Jupiter. We built Jupiter up. Yeah, it's that kind of shindig. And so yeah, well, we've done that. We don't need to go through that. So Horus represents the unconscious mind. And as I said, it forms your creation via Thoth, who uses the moonlight to form your state of being. So maybe one night you might go to bed. You see, I understand that the daytime starts at sunset. So that's your morning, as it might be. That's when you're asleep. That's when Thoth's doing his thing, rewriting your codes on his keyboard directly into your avatar based on what you've done that day, how everything else is coming in together, your karma, etc., etc. So you might wake up in the morning and you're more pissed off than you've ever been in your life. Maybe that's what it is, because maybe your conscious is aware of what's going on there and it's not really happy. So you get up in the morning, you might beat up dog or something like that, but when in effect you've woke up like that because you're pissed off because you weren't not happy with the recording you just had, or because it probably means there's an experience you've got to undergo in order to make that right. So, you know what I'm saying. Now then, let's have a look at this in relation to this metaverse that they're creating. What does that actually bloody mean? You know what I mean? We talk about it. We say, yeah, they're moving your ID into its own avatar in this metaverse. But even while we're saying it and we're talking it and we're listening to it, we're still thinking, yeah, well, it's not completed itself as a thought form, so we fully grasp it. But here's my take on it from what I've been looking at, and that's sort of, let me have a look. So I think what it's saying, and this is just lets us explore, that no longer are the majority using the sensory nature, yeah, to formulate their avatar's frequency. They're giving it all up to two parts of it. Because the command now is coming from the television, yeah, and Google. Yeah, if you want to formulate something, Google. All the input you're getting is TV. Whether that's news, documentaries, the whole shebang, music, the whole thing is now 95% of the population's input for processing data. Not even Ra's just getting so screwed up in your world that war's being built up everywhere, and it doesn't matter to you in the slightest. You're just onward going, you're not even, and you're building it. It's being built by us all in that sense. So you've given up your identity or the creative force within your avatar. You're no longer allowing your senses to tell you how it is because you no longer trust those. You've let go of them. You're processing everything by what you get on the television and what Google gives you. Can you see? If we're looking at for allegorical here, symbolism, that's what's happening, in my opinion, at this stage of this exploration. So, don't know whether that makes sense to you. Now, that sort of presents to us this reality that the avatar in which we are experiencing this realm is a very sophisticated receiver of raw energy into the avatar, then through the Horus aspect, it transmits what we actually are as a seat of consciousness into manifestation. Does that make sense? So we're receiving from Ra, and through Horus, our left eye, we're projecting or transmitting our frequency. through the television and all this, everybody's avatars or transmissions are becoming hive mind, controlled by the metaverse, the fantasy, the fiction. That goes right down to your legal title, etc., etc., etc. This is what's going on. And it's not for good and it's not for ill. This is what has been created. And we can say, yeah, we can see there's inversions, there's been trips, there's been traps, etc. But even so, it's still on us, is it not, to take control of our own processing within our avatar so that we're in control in a way that's balanced in our transmissions through the eye of Horus. Now, so then in essence we can say, as Jason's simulacrum, as he calls it, which is a copy of an original, that this simulacrum is a way in which the seat of our consciousness can experience in a conscious manner through the interpretation of what we see in this avatar as reality. That's the simulacrum. Let me give you that again, because that might have been a bit... So, Ra being the mechanic to bring in the seat of our consciousness into this holographic electromagnetic system. That's why the sun's powerful in the day. It's the biggest electromagnetic generator, yeah, in the daytime. So we're brought into this realm so that the original consciousness that we are can interpret a conscious experience, but that it believes to be reality because it's fixed in it. And that is entirely in sync with what Jason said as a mechanic. I'm not talking about his theories in relation to other aspects, but as the mechanic, I'd say that supports that idea. Now, let's get into the human body a little bit, okay? Because now we're into Horus, we're into Jupiter's realm. We've got our chakras, we've got our senses, yeah? All our senses. Because the eye of Ra isn't broken up into fractions. It's pure bump. We're percentaging in the Horus eye just to give you an idea of what it actually is that makes up the biggest part of your processing capacity or the tools that you're using, you know. But now you're into TV, Google, you're only using ears and eyes, aren't you really? You're not using your smell anymore because Google doesn't smell. You get me? You know what I'm saying. So, you know, the heart, it said, in your body is the seat of human consciousness, not the brain as the fruit bats believe, okay, which is why they go up their own arse all the time and why all our technology is complete and utter bollocks. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why we've got these shenanigans going on all over the shop. We give big nuclear weapons on the table. And you can see that with the Egyptians. They're giving you that symbolism in the fact that we all know that the first thing you do when one dies, you break your nose, crack it, and suck all the brain out. So they did not see the brain as important outside of the fact that it's the processor in which we can turn our senses into a data that obviously our system understands. We don't need to get into the detail of that. But the Egyptians didn't see it as significant because they sucked it out at death. That's symbolic. That's a lesson. They're teaching you something in this tradition. Now, the chakras. This is the way it goes in the Egyptian, and that is that from the solar plexus up, those chakras are receiving. They're receiving these energies from the sun and from the luminaries. Okay, they're the receiving aspects. So the upper body from the solar plexus is all receiving. We transmit or project our frequencies into manifestation from the solar plexus down. Right? You with me? So the more ridiculously insane you are, materialistic, slavery, war, all that shit, is your sign to how low grade you are as an emanation in this place. And that's the way it goes. That's it, in a nutshell. So let's have a look. So you could say, so when we say flesh and blood, you know the old term, and flesh and blood. We can now understand that a bit more in that flesh is Saturn born and the blood is Sun born. Or Seth, yeah? And the Sun, of course, being the closest electromagnetic creative or electromagnetic solar system. So Isis is the ear and hearing, and the smell is Nephis. Yeah? And they're both on either side of this Eye of Ra. So that needs to be further investigated. Oh dear. Come on! My mouse has given up. Oh, that's rubbish. Right, I might have to just change some batteries, chaps. Looks like the nicest content. It has. Sorry about that. So, how are you guys doing? We've got Jace is here. Hello, Jace. How you doing, mate? Long time no see. So, right. It's all going down tonight, isn't it? Come on. Let's see you back up. There we go. We're back on. Oh, look, the camera's gone off. Ah, that's why we lost the camera. There's something going on with this. The camera's gone off. So, I'll tell you what then. Because the camera's gone off, we can ask questions, but the camera's not working for some reason. So, I don't suppose it matters whether you can see me or not. Anyway, does it? So, what I'll do, I'll put up this other IRR because that is a good picture to look at, and we'll wrap it on for a bit. Now, have you guys got any questions on what we've just explored there? So where are we? Greetings, joining the dots. Hello. Hello, Slipknot. How you doing, mate? Slipknot says, so John says, upload consciousness, man will seek death and not find it. Is that why, Oliver says, is that why you want your blood at birth, i.e. Guthrie card? See who's coming back into the realm. Yeah, I would say so. But they also, I mean, when I were back in the day into that the consensus were that they actually can work out who's coming in beforehand. These psychics, some of these psychics they've got working for them can actually even see that. So they've pretty much become gods of this realm and took it over, haven't they? Let's be honest, this dodgy priesthood. Yeah, so what else have we got? Oh, I'll try and not miss any questions because I've noticed I miss a lot of questions on this. So I don't know, Gremlins have removed our ability to use the camera, which is a bit shit. Nick Bostrom says we could be in a simulation of a simulation. The Metaverse could be the next simulation. Well, I'd say that it is. That's what they're trying to do you in. You're going to be totally not functioning this physical apart from being the mover of your avatar in the Metaverse. And that's because you're a big fat Lloyd sat there and watching telly playing on your computer and doing nothing but I'm playing in that. I don't know. I mean, one of my daughters liked that Sims when they were young, and I knew I could see it were a bit creepy then. And so it's just basically they want you to shift your entire life to be a basic Sims in the realm of Avatar. And if it's giving you pets mean prizes in there, you're going to be happy with that, aren't you? Or the younger generations are. Elle says, late and behind, wanted to say evening to Sean. Evening, Elle. Jeff says, have we a mod watching in background? Are you the mod Raymondo? Yeah, because I haven't been able to get into that either. They seem to have stopped me getting into that. So I'll just keep my eyes on that. Good evening, everyone. That's from Andrew. Hiya, Andrew. Tonka, hello, Tonka. Jace, how you doing, mate? Andrew, good evening. Howdy, Jeff. Don't chat. Yeah, good for you. Well, anyway, given we're having so many problems, I don't want to ruin that data by just dragging it on, unless you guys have got some questions. Can you clarify the part about the ear? Because both of our ears are near an ear. Well, I take that as the Eye of Ra, Isis being close to the ear, is the whisperings would be coming from Isis, would they not? Now, in the left eye, you're hearing, you're taking it from your senses yourself in your avatar and processing it based on what you think you're hearing, rather than the pure communications coming directly through your intuition and Isis or Mary, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter if you don't get fixed on the names. It's the heavenly queen or the heavenly mother, as it were, that runs this simulacrum. Yeah, and it's because you've got to remember, nothing in the physical DNA wise passes from the male. It doesn't pass on to the sun like the mitochondrial does from the female. So there's a continuum from the female lines that you don't get through the males, which is why the patriarchy had to fix everything to the male, because they had to fix it in the physical manifestation, because it doesn't actually represent the true spiritual way that this place works, if you get the meaning there. I hope that clarified. Hope everyone's well. Yeah, me too. I've no experimental injections, so I feel fine. Absolutely. How can you not feel fine? I mean, I do know a lot of people that have took them, and a lot of people don't seem to be having problems, or if they are, they're not saying. There are a lot of people that are having problems. Luckily, I've not been around anybody for since beginning of this year, really, that's dying or in hospital, etc. Apart from one comrade I've got on, Anton, his mother seems to be having quite a few problems. So it is going on, isn't it? You know, people are still having problems. But in all truth, I'm really no longer bathing in the world of the great conspiracy, if you get the meaning. Things are so changed for me in this year. I don't feel like I have this need anymore to expose who, what, where, when. I'm only interested in remedy, especially in this time between now and April. Might change again sometime, but as a feeling, an intuitive feel that I have, I'm not seeing myself now getting excited in the conspiratorial side of things, i.e. in exposing it in the way that I've done for a very long time. And I'm quite happy about that, in all truth. But it just doesn't have the pull that it used to have. Howdy, Jeff. Don't chat sometimes. Let's have a look. Can you clarify the part? Oh, I've done that. So did you get that? HL1. Hey, Sean. Hello, Andrew. I've had no experiments yet. Yeah, good. Andrew Gill says, I've spent all week making cannabis oil for cancer sufferers. It's rife at the minute. I can't show you because my camera's not working. But I've been using, not for myself, but for others. We'll discuss it next week. I'll show you what it is. It's brilliant. 2 dogs and a human. And stage 4, she took it for 7 weeks. Went back for a test. It'd gone completely. 1 a night when you're asleep. That's it. My son-in-law, he's had leukemia for many years, dealt with it in various ways. He always gets to grips with it when he stops listening to Christie's. Because all they do is bring him in shit, scare the living daylights out of him, enough to get him on the happy pills and the chemo. But every time he's off that. But I will say this, some of these cannabis oils that people are supplying are way too strong. Because if it's not going to wreck them as a poison, it's wrecking the mind. Paranoia and all that goes with some of this cannabis for some people. So you've got to be careful. But at the one, I had 2 dogs. One dog, its liver rang out of its ass at 15 years old. Started to take this, it was running around like it were a puppy. And went on another 15 months, she had it put down. Another mate of mine, his dog, it was that ready for death. He had big sores leaching out all over. He stank, couldn't bark, could hardly breathe. Gave it one of them, it was running around like a puppy and it could bark. And it still wears, and that's probably, again, 12, 13, maybe more months. No, is it out 2018? So that's 4 years, and it's still going. So there is one that I've been using for promoting and supplying for people, and it works a treat. So we'll go through that next week. But just be careful with some of these oils. I think they're too strong, and it has a bit of a, it seems to, wreck them a bit mentally. So be careful. Not that it can't be brought back to bear when you stop taking it, but just have to be a bit careful, I think. Paul says, I lost my youngest sister and my father to the... Did you really? Oh, shit, man. Many got the police, or they didn't. Yeah, well, if you're serving Mammon, they're going to give you the placebo. Or are they not? As Gordon Brown said last year, before he went into the G7. This will give us the ability to decide who lives and who dies. And he said it. So anybody that's gone with it have known fully well, or should have done, that they were handing themselves over to the ilk of Gordon Brown, the super communist. And that, You can calm down the high from FECO with CBD oil. My old dog is 22 years old, not lying. Yeah, I mean, it's great for whatever it is that starts to decompose your body, which is what cancer is. It's the fungus that comes about. So when you've got an overburn of cells that your immune system can't break down on its own, then cancer comes in, the fungus, and eats it. So it's not something to be worried about as a thing in and of itself. It's got a purpose. It's when your body's too acidic and the fungus runs riot, then that's when it starts to run riot. So that's what's going on there. Keep your body alkaline. Cucumber, peel it. Peel the cucumber, it alkalize your body. Lemons, alkalize your stomach acids. Be careful, you don't want to go too alkali, you'll struggle to digest food. So it's always a balance. I drink Evian. It's 0.75 to the alkaline. You know what I'm saying? Every now and again I'll munch on... because cucumber with the peel is quite delicious. It's absolutely delicious. It's the peel that makes you burp it back, that burp. So yeah, all the way, just, become the master of your avatar. Yourself. That's what we do cold pepper for. Debbie says, I'm starting a homeopathic course next month. I find it fascinating. Yeah, so when you go back to this eye and you've got smell, or aromatherapy, is the science proving to you that as a sensory perception, it can change the way you process data. Because it's changing your mood. Isn't it? Music to the ear. But it's also a vibration, so it's affecting you in a much different way. But just hearing a particular music can evoke a beautiful emotion. It can also evoke a nasty emotion. Again, proof that the senses are a lot more potent and powerful than you think, especially now that people have handed all that over to Google and the TV. It all makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's simplicity. It's not complexity. It's simplicity. The complexity is the deceiving bunch. It's complex for them because they have to constantly work to undermine your capacity to keep on the simple. It's why you get up every morning, go to work, come home, have your tea, watch telly, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, have your tea. That's it. That's your life. That's why they keep you like that. You don't have time to think outside that little box that they've given you, but more importantly, that you've taken on. So you know they exist, or you can't just blame them for existing. They exist. Just make sure you don't fall foul of it. Make sure they're not creating your reality. And this is so important, this stuff. You know, it might be worth you checking this out again, because it's like I've said, the Phoenix has come on to us in this last few months, first via Jason. Very impressed with Jason's response to some of this shit that's going around at the moment, by the way. Eat it head on. Well done, man. Good man. I'm impressed with that, so there's no more issues for me. Because it doesn't mean, I'm not saying believe everything Jason says, I'm not. Take of it what you will, but what's important in my opinion is the fact that we have these cycles of 138 years on that, and then you've got this 558 year cycle of the real Phoenix rising in relation to your test for the weighing of your art, or the great judgment that all the religions have spoken about. And that's on us right now. It's on us. Glenn started in January 2020. That's another thing as well that I picked up today. Let's have a look. I'm not sure exactly what astrological event it was, but on March the 5th this year, the heavens and the earth became the same word. Now, what that means is interesting. I'm not going to gob off on it now because I haven't given it enough processing to work out what that could actually mean. But basically, the heavens and the earth are now on the same frequency, the same word. So the will of the heavens is coming. And the will of the heavens is based entirely on here. As above, so below. As below, so above. Correct? You get that? So that's another bit of interesting data that you might want to keep in mind. So let's have a look here. So Deb's starting homeopathic. Well done, Debbie. You can give us your thoughts and what you learn on here by all means. Andy says that's because they're using cross-developed strong weed, Sean. I only use white widow. You're absolutely right. They are using some strong, and it's getting stronger all the time. But what I notice, most of it you get out there, it's compromised. It's not flushed, and it's poison. You know, if you're smoking weed, you need to find somebody who knows what they're doing and flushes it and doesn't use more than 3 or 4 chemistry when they're putting it together. You know what I'm saying? That's what flushing is so important. It gets rid of the chemicals. Then you're on clean. It's not doing you any damage, because if you can cope psychologically with cannabis or skunk, as people have been on for years, including me, you know, as long as you can work with it, it doesn't have any detrimental effect, except it does change your instinct. You can see it as a sensor of your instinct. Well, of course, if a lot of people these days, their instincts are not born of intuition, they're born of their own processing. It's a good thing that they're on it. But then one day when they're unleashed off it, you know, it's going to be unleashed, in it. It's going to become manifest. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Cancer is candida. No, I would disagree. Candida is candida. Wheat. Yeah. It's like not so much wheat, but what's that substance? It's yeast. It's a yeast infection, an overburden of yeast. Very dangerous. It's got nothing to do with this gluten-free stuff that they talk about. What they're hiding there is the fact that when you've got these problems, you've got your yeast infection that's gone ballistic, and it can kill you. And it can take 20 to 30 years to show itself. So if you're eating shitloads of bread and lots of wheat, especially today because it's full of polymer, E551 silicon dioxide. Candida will run riot. But if you've got Candida, turpentine, Georgia pine gum spirits. I showed it. I can't show it tonight because the gremlins have wrecked the camera. So I would disagree that cancer is Candida. Cancer, in my opinion, is cancer. From what I've looked on all these years, that's what it is. Acidic, all these particular modes that fungus needs. So I disagree there. I'd say they're two separate things, but equally as dangerous. So it doesn't make me burp, thankfully. Oh, that's good. The truth is sovereign. Distilled hydrogen water is good. Well, hydrogen's the basis of all the table, isn't it? The mineral table, etc. It's all based on hydrogen, just different degrees to which hydrogen is compounded. I forgot what is the table? It's you know what I mean, though, don't you? But hydrogen's everything. Hydrogen water, that sounds like something good. You'll have to keep me informed on that. I've not heard of that before. So you just infuse it with hydrogen. Excellent. That sounds like a real good idea. Debbie says, certainly the sense of smell in this house, cats peeing everywhere, and Stafford farting. Just shoot them. No, that'll keep, yeah. I said that a lot to people, just to trigger them. Of course, I won't be running around shooting any animals. But it is good to see them trigger when you say, well, when they complain about their animal, I'll just say, well, just shoot it. Little face. That gives me some pleasure, but yeah, I know what I mean. Yeah, I don't have any pets for that reason. And they tie down a little bit, don't they, as well. It takes one looking after. Because if you're responsible, especially if you've got a dog, you've got to check that dog out. The raison. Cucumber water is better than Evian and easy to make. Yeah, well, I've just said what I do, Ray, is peel a cucumber and scoff it, and it's delicious. It's absolutely, so you don't even have to go through the process of making it anything other than it is. But peel it. Peel it, you'll never burp. You just peel it off, it's delicious. So when I make my stir fries, which I've got very lazy and I've made one for yonks, I will sometimes I'll get beetroot, so I'll have beetroot weight on the raw beetroot. And other times I'll have big chunks of peeled cucumber. Great way to keep your alkaline pH balance in order. Just keep it slightly to the alkaline, and cancer will not be able, because it needs acidic, it'll not be able to take hold and run riot. It's impossible. Truth is sovereign, you can buy either a hydroxy machine or a smaller bottle infusion. Then put in a vortex spinner. Well, that sounds interesting. Do you have any videos on that, YouTubers? Videos that you can put up here as a link. TS. I will find out more, thanks. Okay. If you go back and try to remember the time you fell in love, remember how it made you feel good. Well, if you're relaxed and you do it actually, if you're relaxed and do it, you actually can get the same feeling in the present moment. Yeah, you can. Like some music, I'll listen to some music and it can just perk me up. One that really does it for me is Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli, is it? Time to Say Goodbye. You want to listen to that. The voices are absolutely perfect. It's the most beautiful vibration it sends off for you. If you're ever feeling down, get that cracking on. And they do it live. Sarah Brightman, Andrea Bocelli, Time to Say Goodbye. Unbelievable tune. Flush for 10 days. Well, if you just drink Evian all day, like I have a coffee in the morning and I have a coffee of an evening, and that's it. At the moment now, I've cut out the Fitzpatrick Dandelion and Burdock's cordial, and I'm just having straight Evian, nothing else, just straight. And a couple of days into that, and the water tastes absolutely delicious. The water all on its own, what a taste. It takes a couple of days though, you have to do it. it's you've got to try it. Hill One says yes, they're developing play-to-earn games to keep people immersed. Are they really? Unscrupulous people are, so the truth story says, unscrupulous people are selling oil made with the leftovers as the real deal. Always best to make your own. Only use someone you can trust. Yeah, I agree. But even people that you think you can trust, I'm not so sure. Everything they're putting out is brilliant. I'm not poo-pooing it works, but this stuff that I've been offering is dynamite. I don't know it works. Stage 4 she were in her lymph system. 7 weeks she took it off because they postponed her next appointment. When she went there, it had gone completely. They still persuaded her to get chemo. 40 grand for the trust. Ching ching. Of course they're going to get her to go on chemo. But she didn't have faith in her own... She didn't have faith in her own sensory perception of the state of things, even though the medical system said to her, it's gone. That's not where she was taking processing insights, her intuition. She was taking it direct from them. So they moved in with the 40 grand in the pocket. You still need to take this. Okay, she said. Away she went. And it still hasn't come back. So that's probably about 4 years ago. Let's have a look. Cancer is a fungi. No, I'm not. I don't think Candida is. It's yeast infection. So I don't know. I mean, if you've seen something that says it is a fungus, then fine. But I haven't. It's a separate thing. Cancer and yeast infection are different. And Candida is a yeast infection. Not an overload. So it's nothing to do with gluten. That's the fantasy. It's yeast infection. You overloaded with yeast, you need to get rid of it. And that turpentine, taken correctly, will do exactly that. And then you want to fast. Even if you just do a water fast, so you're just drinking water, your body starts to eat your fat. It also then starts to upgrade your body and your system so that it creates dead shit in your body and eats it up. It just eats it. And also, if you do it for longer than 4 days, it can actually start to create brand new stem cells. Stem cells based on the energies of Ra as opposed to the mess that the Eye of Horus has got you into. Because it's you, isn't it? The Horus is you. Your little Horus. You know that old time saying? You little Horus. Choose the Sovereign Oregano Oil 2. Paul Sefton, what are your thoughts about the pole shift? Over the last few years, we've seen many whales beaching. I assume they use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate. Is it changing? Well, as I understand that, Paul, the elephants, the birds, the whales, the fish all use the ley line grid in the migratory natural state of being. So, yeah, I agree with that. Well, you could be right, but also you've got to remember they've got all these nuclear subs underwater. You've got all these pulse weapons that they're using underwater. Same in the air when you get all these birds. Because some of these fighter jets have seriously high radioactivity going on at the front of the plane. So these pilots are not going to have a long lifespan, whether they get shot down or not. A bit like the police when they were taking on all that Tetra system. There were cancers everywhere, tumours, a lot, and you didn't get that reported. Pole shift. I don't know. I've seen stuff that suggests that it doesn't actually affect the physical side of things. I've seen data that suggests, yeah, it does. To what degree it moves again is another... I suppose it's all a big part of this phoenix, both astrologically and the actual phoenix body itself that we can't actually see, but is out there. So yeah, not so sure anymore. I did think I always erred on the side of the actual pole shift and magnetic. I mean, are you talking about magnetic pole shifts, or are you talking about the actual Earth itself, I suppose? So there are two sides to it. Does one beget the other? I don't know. But I remember in the 90s, I caught this seer saying that it had moved 7 degrees off its axis, and if it goes again, which it probably has now, which is why we're into this. So I'm not sure exactly what to make of it, but yeah, it happens. It's proven it happens. What it actually means, I'm not so sure. Mew says, you can now get a prescription for cannabis here in UK. Sean, I'll send you a picture. But then you've got medical involved in that, haven't you, Jeff? You know what I mean? It's the reason why I wouldn't trust these e-cigs. There's 2 chemicals in there that you don't want. Glycol or something, I forgot what it's called. And medical nicotine. What is medical nicotine? Nobody knows. I asked when it first started, I made a report on it, and I'd asked suppliers, what's the medical nicotine? They didn't know. And what they used to do was just go, yeah, but you can mix your own now. Yeah, you can, but you're still mixing it with that glycol and medical nicotine. So 2 chemicals that I couldn't prove safe, which I'd never use it. Would never do it on that basis, because that's how I use my senses. It's that in it, it does that to you. Do I want that in me? No. End of. There is no debate. No, what am I doing? No, it's not happening. That's how you should all do it. Not giving up your sensory perceptions to another. Without checking it out anyway. Joining the dot says glyphosate. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we all got a bit we couldn't understand why it were bought. Who would buy Monsanto? When at the point that they bought it, it was just liable for billions and billions and billions in lawsuits. But I found this very interesting guy, knew his stuff, and what he was showing was the reason why all of a sudden glyphosate became even more valuable than it was before is because, in the truth of it, when they were using it on the crops, by the time the crops were harvested, there were no glyphosate left in the actual product. It had gone, natural biodiversity, it got rid of it. But what they then started to learn were that they could, if they sprayed fruit on the trees in Africa or wherever, they could pull it down before it would ripen, because on its journey, on the shipping, it would ripen because of the glyphosate. So now that means you're buying fruit and stuff that's laced with it. So it's a lot worse and a lot more valuable, which is why Monsanto has been bought. And I forget who bought it, because it's now glyphosate is even more valuable than all the lawsuits that are going on, and because they're using it as a standard now on all foods that are exported, which is all food going through the supermarkets. Is it not? We can agree to this. Well, we don't have to agree to disagree. I haven't seen what you're presenting, and that's fine. If you've seen it, that's fine. I'd like to see it, because I'm always up for being wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm not the all-knowing, all-seeing. I'm investigating and exploring, and we do the same together on this shindig. So that's where it's moving information. That's what I'm about nowadays, moving it. So that you can absorb it and compute it and process it how you see fit. Because I'm not in control of how you see anything. I'm only in control of how I see it. Send me a picture. Yeah, okay, but I wouldn't trust anything that's coming from medical. There's never an ingredient, a real one on it. It's always telling fibs. Anyone get acid reflux? I haven't had that since I stopped eating breakfast, dinners and teas. Never get it. I eat in the evening about 5 o'clock, and that's it. So I don't break my fast until 5, 6 o'clock every day. If I'm working and I'm doing like plastering or something that exerts you, then I'll have something about 10 o'clock. But I never break the fast when I've just got up. All I do, the first thing I do when I get up is drink water. That wakes up all my organs to fresh, clean water, so there's no more pollutants been put in. Straight away then it can further expel what it's been expelling all night. And also the last thing I have before I go to bed again is water. So I'll have water when I get up, then I'll go and get a Costa coffee or whatever. And then it's water all day. So I'm not eating any tap water at all. And then I'll have another caustic of an evening. I like to sit on car park and just rewind the day, chill and relax, and then get back home and get back into some more investigations and such, you know. But water first thing is so important, and water last thing is so important because that helps your body to get rid of the toxins you've taken in the day, breathing, eating, etc. Because we all know that it's very difficult. We have the means to actually ensure that you're eating anything and drinking stuff that's not potentially contaminated, but you can mitigate it the best you can, because that's what it's about. Your body is a ginormous filter. It's all it's doing. It's filtering everything at all times. Just give it a bit of a lift. It's expert at it. You know, you don't have to get too excited about it. Autophagy, Slipknot says. What's that? L says, music is the answer, says A. Apple cider vinegar is good for acid reflux. I believe if you soak your veg and fruit in a bowl with apple cider vinegar at night, it will remove all the glyphosate and you'll see it in the water. It goes like a gel. But I believe that's how you can cleanse that stuff. A, music is the answer to everything, is it? Well, maybe. L says, regarding the magnetosphere dropping and leading to radiation death with flu symptoms, Harold Cox has a video on the topic within the last 3 months or so. Has he really? Can you send a link on here, matey? Because I like... I know he's the author of the Black Goo idea, but the guy is a clever guy, and he can put some interesting data into your mix to do with as you wish. Autography. What's that? Thank you, El. I will have a look for that, says Paul. Jay says, take a look at this channel for the deeper look at the state of Earth. Which channel? Debbie says, I don't want to go anywhere near any medical professionals if I can possibly avoid it. No, exactly. Why do you need to? Chop your finger off your hand, your arm, you might need to. If grandma's still there, grandma will sew it up for you. But if it's a bit more than that, you might have to go and see a doc. Alright, so Jason's put up. Okay, nice one. That's one up. Monsanto is now lawyers all about Bill Gates. Is it really? There were a company that bought it, weren't there? I can't remember which one it was. Well, that wouldn't surprise me, Ray, at all. It really wouldn't. I found that a week ago. I can't, but okay. Bauer. But that's right, Bayer. Bayer Pharmaceuticals, the one that came out of IG Farben, which was the Third Reich. So Bayer, yes, they bought it. And it were a bit baffling at first, and then I found that guy, and he explained it absolutely in great detail why that had happened. So I have said before on a live stream that if I can find that, I will put it up sometime, and if I can, I will. I will have it in a bookmark somewhere. So I think it's Bayer, Andy. Bauer is the name of the Rothschilds before they became Red Shield. L says, talking of Kabbalah, ironically, Ra means evil, but it's not yet. But the Harry Potter coin mentioned previously had me thinking about the name Harry Potter, Ha, the Ray, or first, foremost, origin, form. Yeah, I mean, Ra is Saturn. And obviously, Saturn played a more important role in this solar system in a previous time. A time when this data were put together. Jupiter, his sun, has taken over. Doesn't mean that he's not there and not existing, but now he operates from another level, above that of Jupiter. Jupiter now is running the realm of our little solar system from which we are creating our little avatar in our processing mechanic, and abilities. The Truth is Sovereign says, can detox glyphosate by taking fulvic humid acid for just 2 to 3 weeks. Revata Fulvic Restore is really good. Something we all should take daily to provide trace minerals. I'll send some good info. Yeah, that'd be a good idea, but also bear in mind for trace minerals, chicken livers. Proven by me. So I won't promote anything. And like I said, I'm not giving advice. I'm just telling you what I do, what I've done, how I approach it. That's all I'm doing. It's up to you whether you want to take it on board or not, you know. But it's not medical advice. It's health. Keeping you healthy. And not just fit. Nice one. Humic. Debbie says, I have lemon water first thing, then celery juice, as per the medical medium's advice. So many testimonials. Well, I'll tell you now, if you like cucumber, just peel it. It's amazing stuff. And peeled, it melts in your mouth and it's got a really nice taste. You can wolf a full cucumber down instantly. Same if you've been on statins for a long time and you think you need to get off them. Just eat shitloads of boiled eggs. Boiled eggs are laced with cholesterol, which you need. Your brain's made out of cholesterol. Your reproductive system is made out of cholesterol. There is no way on earth do you want to be reducing the amount of cholesterol you've got in your body. Big time. Same with potassium. That's the latest one they're on. You know, potassium loss, you're going to have an heart attack. Your blood pressure is going to go sky high. You're going to have an heart attack. Game over. Where are you taking your intuition from? Television or Google or direct? This is what it comes down to. You know? And you need to... Duality. We don't want to be seen in duality. You don't want to get one eye. It's doing the business. Yeah, so capping that pyramid is the day the earth is operating correctly. True Sovereign says hot lemon water is the best. Well, if I get any kind of flu symptoms, sore throat, first thing is hot lemon water with Manuka. Bang. And what I do, this is just for me, I'm not telling you to do this, is how I do it. If it's a sore throat, what I want to do is get to the part that's causing the problem, the infection. Now, what happens in general is that infected part gets covered in mucus because the mucus is trying to kill it. Because your mucus has its own immune system. So what I'm doing with that red hot, I want it red hot. I'm burning that mucus off. So I'm swallowing it, making sure it goes up down all my throat. So that's not easy. It's a knack that you can learn, and I've learned it. So I'm burning the shit off my throat. After maybe 1 or 2 cups of that, you're down to the actual infection. Start whapping that down then, and then it'll burn it off. And then before I go to bed, I'll have raw teaspoon of Manuka and let it float down my throat. So then it coats the infection, and by nearly always you get up in the morning, and if it's not gone, it's certainly a lesser problem. Where are we? L says Potter equals Yatze, Sefer Yitzhara primary, foremost Kabbalistic 10 Sefirot book. Harry Potter is Hebrew wordplay. Well, everybody's under the Kabbalah. Everything's been set up. This Prussian shift over everything they've done to take away the kingdoms, which were Christian, has been to put us under Kabbalah. So all the systems that have been set up from the Crusades, through the Templars, then the Prussians, Jesuits got took over by the Prussians, through the Jesuits, has all been about shoving you under Kabbalah. So that's why your left and your right can't move off force. Your left stay on left, mercy, the right stay on severity. You can't shift out of the paradigm. And I said this before in another analogy, which was, you got to picture that the rules of the game for running a nation, let's say the 22 rules, okay? The elite have torn that in half and given the left 11 rules and the right 11 rules. So each on their own have half of what's required to bring this place to order. But because we're under Kabbalah, the two pillars, they're fixed. So neither can ever, on their own, bring about the balance we need. The rule book would have to be put back together. if you want to see through that one eye. You know what I'm saying? So that's interesting. Ankh, okay, I knew it was something like Bay of Boa. Thanks for the correction. Oh, aye. What am I about? Ankh? Kind of on brain. Can't keep a good man down here. Jay says hibiscus flowers in a tea is a lovely blood tonic. Oh, that's interesting. But again, with veg, anything, the colour is depicting, telling you what it's good for. You can't go wrong with raw... oh shit, what's it called? I did mention it earlier, I have it with my stir fries. Beetroot. Beetroot's great for the blood. Spinach is excellent for oxygenising the blood. Popeye. That's what Popeye were telling us. The problem you've got with spinach now, because it's so popular, is they're lacing it in glyphosate. Yeah? Lacing it. So be very careful, because anything that's popular, which is why they get you on it, is because they're then giving it extra treatment of this shit. Which is why you need to be growing your own stuff. You know what I mean? There's lots of ways of growing your season, overgrowing, and then turning it into liquid and storing it. Making soups. You know, you don't have to be stuck to... so on the face of it now, I'm sort of just trying to put on lost skills in relation to food production. Because we need to have these in our mind. Because, you know, we are the generations that are going to live through this phoenix. Because it's happening. And there's no point crying about it. Let's just get stuck in. And you've got between now and April next year to cleanse yourself the best you can. So that when your heart's weighed, that's going to decide how you're going to fare through this what's to come. What are we? Jeffrey James says, good night, I've proved myself. Are you back to moo? Or are you going to bed? Elle says, Cronus Saturn, why do Hispanics say he Zeus? Ain't Kali also Time Lord, God of Death? Well, we know of Saturn, Jupiter through Rome and Greece, but each cultural age had its own methods of describing these. Like the Egyptian, we're getting the same thing, but through their tradition. They're just languages, aren't they? So we're talking always, no matter which tradition you go into, it's talking about the same luminaries. It's talking about the same mechanic. Although through this Egyptian, I found it easiest to grasp it. And I've studied many. And the Eastern philosophers also, you know, you've got to learn, you like to learn another language when you enter somebody's tradition. That's, you know, what you're taking on when you enter a tradition to learn it. So there's a lot involved. It's difficult. And then you'll resonate with one system above all others as a natural intuition, you know, that this will give you what you need to know through this tradition. And once you feel which tradition it is, that's what you want to stick to, because that's how you'll learn it. So the cleansing's on now till April, and then we've got 18 years, haven't we? So we'll have 17 years left waiting for these events. But obviously it's going to be fun and games in between, isn't it? Of course, especially as we started this live stream with the Mars kicking it up as severity kicks in. Brought zero water filter jug, used water quality test, and it came out as zero after filtering tap water. What's your thoughts? I have concerns about water because of all the plastic beads. The problem with water isn't so much the chemical clean, that can be done. However, the chlorine in it isn't good. It stops your pancreas operating correctly and deposits fat in your veins, which is then, they call it cholesterol. So that's one of the effects that chlorine in your water has on your body. You don't want to be doing that. The problem with water is it doesn't actually change the genetic structure of the water. And because water holds memory, it holds the genetic structure of the things it's experienced. Now, when you are on a closed system, i.e. everything that comes out of your toilet and your waste is then being chemically cleaned and then given you back for drinking and cooking and bathing, they've chemically cleaned it, but they haven't got rid of all the genetic structures that the water's held the memory of, so cancers, all the meds that are coming out into the toilet and the waste. You're made up of a lot of water. There's a good chance that some of those genetic memories in the water can actually activate your own water to produce more of the same. And so filtering is great, but it doesn't change. Now for that, Ken Wheeler gave you a good one. You have to buy a specific magnet, and 12 wraps round with a tube on this magnet, the water will go blank of all its memory, in the same way as a strong magnet will wipe your hard drive completely blank. So that's the way to do it for yourself. And you connect, so you have that coming in, where your water comes in, at your mains, you have that mechanic on it. You can put a couple on it if you wanted, but there's not really any need. And that wipes the water's memory completely clean. So that's the way to attack that. Yeah? So when the Evian runs out, that's exactly what I'll be doing, you know? Ginkgo biloba purifies the blood too. Yeah. A water distiller is a must, plus a glass jar. Right. Iodine detoxes chlorine and bromine too. The iodine is excellent for the thalamus, isn't it? Detoxes a lot of things. In fact, let's say I'd be a fruit bat and I'd gone down the experiment road and then realised I'd be all over iodine as a first, you know. A magnet will get rid of the memory. Exactly, it will completely. Elle says, is it likely the Egyptians, you're behind about 20 minutes, sounds like I'm babbling to myself, took the brain out for its glands, same way? Well, no, because they sucked it out. They didn't really give a shit about it, did they? And I've not seen any of those jars where they're holding pineal gland and such, and holding it sacred. They just suck the brain out completely, don't they, from the head. Now, the Egyptians don't do anything that's not symbolic to pass on to the future. And I've said this before. People have said to me, is that what you think? And I'll say, no, thinking's a process. I like to know. So thinking for me is just a process in which you can come to an idea that you know. Doesn't mean you do, but for that time you do. So it's a process. And what they're saying, even though thinking's a sense, it's not the be all and end all, because of course that's where the magician lies. If you go with the terror, that's where the danger is. It's the thought process. It's where the problems can arise, because they're creating your conclusions. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about the camera going a bit iffy, but it did. It went very iffy indeed. Thanks, Ray, again for keeping things in order. You're an absolute gent. And I think with that, I've nothing else to say, but till the next time.
electronic